Hey guys, Matt Lighty here, and since I'm gone for the week, I figured I have a couple videos laid out for, whatever. One of these is going to be going over my Atlas things I've been running. So some Atlas things I test out in League, and they work for a goal, but aren't used for much permanence. For example, if I, have a tree, let's just reset this, and I need harvest, all I do is pick up every single harvest node, right, until I finish whatever, that goal is. And then once I finish that goal and I'm done with harvest, I drop harvest and I don't pick it back up for any sort of permanence. Like, that's just what I do, because you typically have to swap trees in SSF every single day, right? So, but there are some trees I have that I use for much more longevity things, things that are much more than just a daily occurrence. So I just figured I'd go over those briefly to get an idea, and these are all in the Atlas command in Twitch or just in the description of this video. I tried to keep this organized, so I add new trees and kind of what I use them for and what you have. If you have any questions, though, please want to ask them, or if you want my format slightly changed for legibility, let me know. But long story short, these are the basic trees I keep using, or I'll keep swapping between. Obviously, there's more trees here than I have spots. You have 3 spots, so some of these I don't change, but some of these are kind of samey. So, like at the moment, I have this, what's it called? The T17 map and Scarab Farm. I have the Abyss Beyond tree, and I have my MF tree. Those are the 3 ones I'm currently sitting on, and most of them won't change. Like, I don't think I'll ever change my ambush, my T17 Scarab and map farm, because I use this to farm out 8 mod corrupted maps infinitely along with Scarabs. And my MF tree, until I have all the base game uniques I want, I'm just going to keep keeping this, because this is what I used to farm out uniques, and you've seen it in either episodes of All for One or stream. When I'm getting those big unique explosions, it's from doing this tree. So we'll start just the bottom. For the basic one here, this is my Atlas setup in League launch tree. It hasn't changed in forever. It looks basically the same. You pick up all the Kirik nodes for the most part. You pick up all the map nodes. You can grab these 3 as well if you have extra space, but you can't have the points too high because it's Atlas setup. And yeah, just through the Scarab nodes, through the map nodes, through the Kirik node, through map effect, and then the base spawn rate for, all the Conquerors. This is how you set up your Atlas, so that's what this tree is for. Drive the Destruction, setting up your invitations, doing invitation rotations for Elder, Shaper, Conqueror, Guardians. Very standard type of tree. That's what that one's for. I swap off after 130 points, meaning there's no point to really keep it on. After that, you could move on to a better tree. Next is my Magic Find tree, the Bog strat, if you will. It's the one I use for farming Exiles, and also works really well on Bog and Arid Lake because of how the boss's quantity scales. This is a Meticulous Appraiser tree. That's really only addition this league, I would say, is the fact that we have Bismuth altars, which are really nice. They give an amount of quantity, or bismuth ore deposits, sorry. So I have a little bit of settlers on there for bismuth stuff, but the tree is very simple. All the map effect, all the ghost nodes of relevance, all the exile nodes. You could skip the wild rogue trader if you want. The additional rewards don't really scale too well, but you feel free to grab them if you can handle them. And then bodyguards is actually bad if you're trying to do Unrelenting Torment, because you want the ghost to go inside the boss, not the bodyguards. And then quantity, rarity, map effect, as much as you can get. Meticulous Appraiser, which converts the map's quantity into rarity. That's how you get, on a standard 8 mod map, you're going to get a map that ends up with about 900 rarity. So Exiles having a flat amount of drops, because they're Exiles, they drop a whole set of gear. That has a chance to upgrade up pretty well, so you end up getting a nice amount of uniques. And then for the boss spawn, we talked about the Unrelenting Torment, the ghosts, but that plus you full clear the map with thorough exploration means the boss is not only ghosted, but also wisped. And because we run Unending Nightmare, everything's delirious. So that's why it ends up being a tier 6 feels like a tier 17, because you're fighting mobs that are ghosted, delirious, and wildwood wisped. But it does yield some juicy Exile explosions. Currently, again, I could face tank tier 17s, but I'll die to tier 7 maps with this setup because it is so juiced up. But very good there. You put on some of the new Titanic and Anarchy Scarabs, and a lot of fun. Next one is an Essence and Beast Flat Chance tree. This one's kind of funky. So some mechanics just don't scale right with anything. One of those is Bestiary, the one that's really Essence. No matter how much IQIR you have, it's not making them drop more essences or your beasts be better. So I use a tree sometimes that has like all the stuff that scales off of flat and doesn't matter. So I have the bestiary stuff, the essence stuff, you know, as much as you can handle. Again, this crystal resonance node, which gives essences to map bosses, can create some of the game's biggest miscreations and monsters, and that's very spooky. I have the Keurig spawn rate with some of the scattering report nodes, although we don't typically just alch and go. It's good to have the amount of scattering reports because it's just nice because Keurig's so strong. And some of the very small map nodes. And I also have like things like the Valve side vessel and the upgraded trial spawns, because again, they're flat rates, so it doesn't really matter too much. And some of these trees changed slightly, but I also had on blue altars because I got extra points. So, you know, blue altars are good, red altars are good. It's just preference depending on what you need. If you need more unmakings, do red altars. You don't need unmakings, do blue altars. And you're just fishing for, like, you know, monsters have a chance to drop whatever, regrets, chaos, that sort of stuff. So that doesn't, you should always have altars on no matter what, unless you're, you know, doing, I guess, destructive play. And if you want to do that, you could just put on destructive play and then you just basically drop the blue, and that's totally fine too. So if you want to do that instead, you can do that. But the idea is that this is an alch and go strat. You can alch and go if you don't care what map you get back, because you'll just always get a map and a, you know, and a thing. And essence doesn't scale really off of quantity and rarity, and neither does bestiary, and neither does lab spawns, and neither does Val side zone spawns. So yep, that's just really what that tree's for. And the bestiary scarabs are kind of shit. There's 3 of them, and one of them does nothing. So you get more red beasts, and you get duplicate red beasts, and then also you're never gonna care about red beasts too much because you're always going to be locked out by yellow beasts, and the essence or something similar. I've been discorded. And yeah, spooky and red maps, and it works basically the same as a T1 and a T17, so keep that in mind. Although some beasts don't spawn in low tier maps, so that's also something to consider. Next we have the map and scarab farm. This is my go-to for just like, if I want to do a similar to a back to basics experience. This lets me sustain tier 16 originator maps, tier 16.5 originator maps infinitely. I have no problem sustaining them infinitely. I'll always get 1 to 2 to drop every time I run them, and they're dropping 8 mod corrupted, so as long as your build is okay on average, you should be fine. So this map, this tree is nothing but, you know, it's scarabs, it's map effect modifier. It's equivalent to like us running back to basics from a previous league. I've got on shrine stuff because shrines feel good. And yeah, you just have the small originator nodes. This is the one I just farm most times if I'm just doing whatever. If I'm doing like 17s, this is what I run, just to get the map's base IQ IR higher. And it's comfy for getting scarabs, and it's comfy for just getting the no league mechanic vibe, you know. So if you like that, I like that. Escalation plus corruption gets you all the maps you need. Any amount of extra juice, so traders, map mods, rare mods, whatever. If the map happens to roll additional rare modifier, you could put on one of the additional rare modifier bloodlines, whatever it's called, the horn scarabs, and then like 2 Pantheon, 2 duplicate rares, things like that. I just suggest setting up a regex to filter your tier 8s. If you don't have a regex set up, you just go to POE.re and you have map mods. You can set, you know, pick what you like and what you don't like, and then you just have to, you know, copy that and then paste it in your thing when looking at maps. It makes it a lot easier. Ambush and altars. This one's pretty chill. It's just what I use to open if I'm want to open strong boxes. So if you need like low tier currency, it's kind of similar to the last tree because it's just not a whole lot going on in ambush, except it just prioritizes, you know, the ambush shrines, ambush scarabs, sorry. And it still works at excelling at map returns, but it just prioritizes, you know, you want to do this to get as much from the strongbox stuff. So you run 3 of the regular strongboxes, one of them more rare than one reopens, and you end up with, you know, duplicate cards, duplicate currency, and you just get tons of, you know, stacks of 40 transmutations, big alteration stacks. If you got a couple ambush scarabs and you use this tree, it really helps you re-up on your lesser currencies and SSF. So very comfy and very fun for running on Val temples because it just works on those nodes. All right, next in the final one is the Abyss XP Edifice tree. It's very similar to everyone else's version of this, which is a tree used with all the scarab stuff for Abyss. You can also put on any of the Beyond ones that are non-boss spawns, and you map craft Abyss. This works better in outdoor maps because Abyss does cap out, like, after like 6 Abyss spawns, it kind of just starts culling them in indoor maps sometimes. It'll just like destroy them for some reason. And some 17s apparently just work better. Ziggurat and Sanctuary seem to not eat them as much, but Fortress does. And yeah, this tree is really fun for just getting experience, and you're just grinding the troves that Abyss spawns from the Edifice node. It's been around for a little bit. I also really like in SSF the idea of grabbing Corrupted Gaze, because it's just those 5 or 6 mod Corrupted jewels are good. And I think they're definitely worth grabbing. So even like dropping something like this, you know, more rare, less common thing, which I feel like this thing just doesn't fucking work half the time, but yeah, just dropping that or something, you know, or dropping a couple small Scarab nodes and picking up Corrupted Gaze, I think is pretty strong. But the idea is you just run Abyss with the no boss spawn on Beyond for supplemental goodies, some red or blue altars, whatever your preference is, I guess. And then, yeah, singular focus to just, you know, stick with one map or one set of maps. This doesn't affect the drop rate of 17s or unique maps, I don't think, so much, so you're pretty chill there. And, yeah, you're just getting a bunch of experience. But the one caveat is you have to open up a lot of the Abyssal Horde, so if you don't have the Caster Mastery for auto-opening, there's no better alternative, so it just kind of feels shit. So I would not recommend this unless you're a caster, or have casts auto-triggering with the Caster Mastery, but yeah, without that, it kind of really doesn't work, and I would just stick to something like, you know, this sort of tree for just getting experience, because just spawning high quantity of things is pretty good. Breach is also good for experience if you really are looking for that, but Breach is pretty spooky, actually, and the Scarabs make it much spookier. And it's also a point gobbler. Breach is like Abyss, like 40 points on your Atlas tree, so if you're doing something like that, just keep that in mind. But yeah, those are the basic Atlas trees I've been running recently. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or, you know, whatever. And if you've got any cool trees you've been running yourselves in SSF that you've been able to sustain, let me know. Because unfortunately, SSF, if you can't roll Scarabs for something or sustain them, most mechanics feel pretty shit, which is unfortunate. Which is why I like this Essence Beast one, for example. It feels quite good, or this Carto of Escalation plus Corruption one, because those are very common Scarabs. I have no problem sustaining these. This MF one, I can basically only run 2-3 maps a day. I don't have this. You do not get the Scarabs in enough quantity that, like, I can run it infinitely, and Meticulous Appraiser calls your quant, so you can't do anything there. So it kind of sucks that, like, mechanics don't really work at the moment to the highest degree unless you have full Scarabs, full Atlas investment, but that's where we're at. So in SSF, that's a bit of a challenge to sustain. So, you know, doing having all your trees pretty much have all the Scarab nodes is a good way to start. But yeah, I'm Matt Lighty. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys in the next thing. All right, bye.